Time to shop. Hey guys, welcome back to At the Table. Today we are going to be talking all about shopping in the grocery store. So how to navigate the grocery store, some different healthier options that you could buy while you're in there, while you're shopping around. And we are going to be making recipes from our cookbook that if you fill out our survey, you are going to get one of these cookbooks. So make sure that you do that. We will link it up with this episode as well. But we are making a chicken pot pie recipe from our cookbook. And this is really simple, really easy, and it can be things that you maybe have left over, or it can be stuff that you don't have a whole lot of time to plan a meal, so you're just gonna grab some frozen vegetables or some canned foods and throw it all together. So it's really quick, easy, and simple using stuff that hopefully you already have on hand. So the first thing that we are gonna do is we're gonna start mixing some of our ingredients. So I already have our oven on 400 degrees and it's preheated at this point. We have some mixed vegetables. Now this is actually just a mixture of different vegetables I had in the freezer. So I had a thing of peas and carrots. I also just had some corn that was frozen and I just mixed it all together. So you can do whatever you have on hand. You can buy the pre-mixed bag of vegetables, which is always a great staple to have just for anything like this. Anytime you're making something you want to just throw vegetables in, it's nice to have some frozen veggies on hand, quick and easy to heat up. So these are thawed. If you are using them from frozen, you can just thaw them in the microwave for about 30 seconds to a minute, depending on how frozen they are. But we are going to add in our vegetables, our chicken, and a soup mix. So there's our veggies. The next thing we're using is canned chicken. Now, I always thought canned chicken was really weird. It looked funny to me. I was like, why would I want to eat that? But then I started buying it and eating it for when I just was in a time pinch, and it's actually really, really good. So give it a try. The only thing I would mention is that you, when you're buying this, it is going to be higher in sodium because they are canning it, and a lot of times our canned items have salt added to them. So if you're trying to watch your sodium, just use leftover chicken you have on hand. That is a great substitution for this. So you can just do, whatever you have going on. You also don't have to use chicken. You could use something else if you wanted to. So we're only doing a cup of this, so I'm not going to use quite this whole entire bowl. And I'm going to mash some of those bigger pieces just so we can get some of the chicken kind of spread throughout the whole entire dish. If you wanted to, you could absolutely shred chicken. Like I said, use leftover shredded chicken, and that would be a good substitution as well. And one thing also, when you're buying your frozen vegetables, make sure that you are buying ones that are frozen without sauce or without any other seasonings added to it. A lot of times what happens is when you're adding a bunch of, buying a bunch of frozen stuff, it can be loaded with sauce and stuff like that that just adds into the sodium and also adds into your fat intake. So just be mindful of that. And remember, not all fats are bad. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have fat, but a lot of times we get things like our saturated fat that are in some of those frozen foods. And personally, I like to just add all of that stuff myself. So if you buy the stuff without that, then you don't have to worry about what you're adding to it. Okay, so the last thing is our soup. And I bought the reduced fat, reduced sodium cream of chicken soup. So just make sure that when you are buying your soup mixes that they are reduced fat and also reduced sodium. You can just cut a couple corners there for you. I'm gonna put this whole can in. And we'll mix it all together. And this is our chicken pot pie mix. So really simple, all ingredients that if you are in a pinch, this would be a super easy recipe to do. And this one's a little bit different than your traditional chicken pot pies. We're not using a pie shell. We are going to be adding this to our pie plate, and then we are going to make a batter to put on top. So kind of that breading will go on top of it. So I know there's a couple different recipes. Some might be in a pie shell, some might not and have that biscuit on top, and this is more of that biscuity top layer. Okay, so we'll add that to, go ahead and add that to our pie plate, and this is an ungreased 9.5-inch plate. And so you'll just spread that all along the bottom. And then we're gonna see you guys back in just 1 second to make our biscuit mix to go on top of our pie here.
Introducing the Star Communications app. All the tools you need in one convenient location. You can access Watch TV everywhere. Check local channel lineup. Check your Star email. View and pay your Star bill. Report troubles. Use your Star Security app. Check your home voicemail. Sign up for CrowdFiber. Check your Wi-Fi speed. The list keeps going and going. Download for free from the App Store or Google Play.
All right, so we have our base already done in our pie shell. So the next thing, I went ahead and cracked my egg so I could go wash my hands after. But we have 1 egg that I'm gonna whisk all of that real quick. And then we'll add the rest of our ingredients, which are, again, very simple. So hopefully you have all of this stuff already in your pantry or your refrigerator. So the next thing is our milk. And we are using, I have a 1% milk. This is just what I buy at home, but we suggest using 1% or skim. And we're just using half a cup, which is why I didn't feel like I needed to buy a whole nother thing of milk for us for today. And then the last thing is our baking mix. So you can buy, I chose the one that said Heart Smart on it. It's a little bit lower, I think, in fat than your other baking mix. And the difference here is this is using vegetable oil, and there's a little bit of a leavening, which is baking soda, that type of stuff, but it's a little bit healthier than some of the other options that they have at the store. You can use whatever you have. Just keep in mind, you know, if you're trying to shop smart and trying to shop for your health, that's the type of things we want to be buying. So this isn't the best way to do this, but because this is a very full box, but we're gonna make it work. We need a cup of this. So that's roughly a cup. And then we're just gonna mix all of that together. So some other tips for you when you are shopping in the grocery store. One thing is to shop more so on those outer aisles. So remember, what is on our outer aisles are gonna be things like the produce section, which in my grocery store, that's what I kind of approach first. So shopping for those fresh, local fruits and vegetables is a great option. And then as you're moving throughout, you've got more of our meats and our refrigerated foods that are gonna be, of course, along those outer edges. So those are a little bit, I wouldn't necessarily say healthier options. There are tons of healthy options throughout the center aisles, but you're gonna be less likely to buy things that are more of like, I guess what you'd say are junk foods. So our chips, our little sweetened treats, things like that are all gonna be on your center aisles. So that is just one tip. Always make sure that you're shopping the outer aisles first. And of course, don't go to the grocery store hungry, because then you're gonna buy all of that stuff. You're just gonna wanna buy everything, and you might be buying things that you don't necessarily need. So I've got our mix done, so we are just going to kind of lay this on top. And you can spread it around once you get it on there, but I recommend kind of going slowly at first. And then going back through and kind of moving it around to make it even. I love chicken pot pie. This is one of my favorite things to eat, but it's also one of those things that I just forget about. I don't make it a whole lot, and every time I do make it, I just love it so much. So this is one that if you forgot about it or you're in a pinch, it's really easy to make. So we are gonna throw this into the oven for 30 minutes. So I'll go ahead and do that real quick. And we're gonna let that bake up. So some other tips, I have a couple other things over here to show you guys for just tips when you are shopping in the store. So as we're shopping, different things we want to buy. The first thing is if we're in the canned food section, so canned vegetables, anything like that, you wanna look for the no salt added. And you will see that up at the top. It says no salt added, real big letters. This is the goal to buy in terms of our vegetables, our canned vegetables, or any other canned items. Also, you can see that with our peanuts here. These are no salt added as well. If you can't find no salt added, you could do the lightly salted. So sometimes when I'm buying nuts, if I can't find what I'm looking for, I'll choose another better option. So this just helps to lower that sodium. Also with our vegetables, if you can't find the no salt added, so beans, things like that, you can actually rinse those and remove about 30% of that salt. So make sure that you're rinsing really well, and then that will help to reduce the amount of salt in your overall dish. So this one, of course, says no salt added. There is still 10 milligrams of sodium because your vegetables do actually naturally have sodium in them. But when we don't add salt, then we're not adding on to that. Okay, so making sure we're looking for those lightly salted or no salt foods. You can also, when you're looking for your fruits or any type of fruit items, looking for the ones that are unsweetened or packed in their own juice. So make sure that you're reading those labels, looking on the back, seeing if there's any sugar added. Applesauce is already going to be pretty sweet as it is, so we don't need to add a lot more sugar to that. So that is another tip for you when you're buying those types of foods. The last one is looking for that the lower fat option in terms of our foods that are animal products, dairy products, just because they are going to be higher in that saturated fat content, which is what we are a little bit more concerned with than our unsaturated fats, things like olive oil and stuff like that. So our dairy products, animal products, we want to look for that reduced fat option, and that will just help you to save a little bit in terms of your saturated fat content for the day. So some other tips as you're browsing through the grocery store, look for these. These are going to be healthier options for you, and I hope that you enjoy shopping. So anyway, we'll see you guys back in just 1 second. We've got our pie in the oven, our chicken pot pie, and then we'll get back to our fruit salad in just a second.
Experiencing slow internet? If you have a fast internet package, the problem is most likely your wireless router. With more devices using Wi-Fi, your wireless router may not be able to deliver the speed and coverage you need. We now have the leading solution to enhance your internet experience. Using small devices in a mesh network, these Wi-Fi appliances cover just about any size home so that all your devices can operate to their fullest potential. Whole home Wi-Fi from Star Communications. Get the most out of your internet connection.
All right, so we have moved to our next dish we have. While our chicken pot pie is in the oven, we're gonna make a fruit salad. This is one of my favorite recipes. It's just something I've just thrown together and just added some different stuff to it. So I guess it's kind of a Sydney original, but it uses a lot of fresh fruits in it. So we have an abundance of different fruits. The only other thing that I use, and that's because you can't find these fresh, and the canned is pretty good, is the mandarin oranges. I like the mandarin oranges because it gives it a little bit of sweetness, just different texture added to that fruit salad. And I mentioned earlier when I was talking about looking for fruits, canned fruits in their own juice, it will say, this one says in 100% fruit juice. And you can go back and look at the ingredients list, and it's got a variety of juices that they use in this one, like grape juice, and there's some lemon juice in there, which helps to preserve the color. But I did already open it. But you want to make sure that you're buying fruits either in their own juice or in 100% fruit juice. Okay, so we'll be adding those as well. So we're just chopping up a variety of of fruits. So I've got strawberries here, and you can really cut these however you would like, but we pretty much want them to be in our bite-sized pieces. So I always cap them first, and then I'm kind of quartering those. So you can cut them more or less however you would like. The other great thing about this recipe is that you can really adjust it to whatever fruits you have on hand or what fruits are on sale at the grocery store. So I mentioned when I'm shopping in the grocery store, I always go to that produce section first. One of the reasons behind that is to look and see what they have on sale. So that can help me to change up some of my meals that I have. It can also help me to save a little bit of money. But let's say I'm going to the grocery store and I want to make this fruit salad and the blueberries are on sale instead of blackberries. We're using blackberries today. Then I would grab those blueberries instead. So just switching it up, changing it up based on what they have on sale at the store. So that's one thing with this. It's very versatile. You can change it up however you like. Same thing I mentioned with my chicken pot pie. I just used some of the stuff that I already had on hand, so I didn't have to go grab some of that from the grocery store. We want to utilize what we've already got. And if I were using like a mixed vegetable bag, it would have likely had green beans in it. There may have been some other vegetables added to it. So, you know, you have free reign when you're in the grocery store to change things up and do what is easiest for you. Another great thing about this salad is that it's really easy to include children when you're making this. So you could have the kids help you to rinse your fruits off before you are using them. You could have kids help to cap your strawberries or even cut your strawberries with a butter knife. So if you are trying to find ways to include children in the kitchen, this is a really easy one to do that. And I used a whole pint of strawberries. I've still got a few more. We'll move on to those in a little bit. But we also have some grapes, and these were actually left over from something else that I had going on for work. So it's like, why not use these grapes? And for these, I am going to half them and quarter them just to chop them up a little bit further. You guys know I like everything in its own little bite-sized pieces so that I get a little bit in every bite. So kind of chopping these up a little bit further will help with that. Now, when we are buying fruits in the grocery store, one thing is I like to support my local businesses. So if it is something that is a local produce, I'll tend to grab that more so than the other items. You can also shop at farmers markets or any of those little roadside stands. That is a great way to help support your local businesses. We have a ton of those here in the Southeast. We are the breadbasket of North Carolina because we've got such a variety of different foods that we grow right here. So you can find lots and lots of different produce right from the farmer. That way you're able to buy straight from the farmer or even, farmers' family members and support them and what they do. I do have some of Cottle's blackberries here. He is a local farmer, so did get some local stuff as well. Pretty sure this watermelon is also local, but I'm not sure where it came from. So I'm gonna finish chopping these up. We'll see you guys back in just 1 second to finish up our fruit salad.
After completing my contract, I still have to buy out of it? Come on. Here's your sign.
Switch to the sign that's keeping home secure and customers happy all over the area. Security from Star Communications. We pride ourselves on fair pricing and quick, friendly service every time.
Somebody try to break into this place?
Security from Star Communications.
All right, our chicken pot pie is done. It looks beautiful. I'm glad that I checked on it because it didn't take quite 30 minutes. So depending on your oven can be a little bit warmer or cooler, or it'll be normal. So you just need to make sure that you're keeping an eye on whatever you've got in there. And so I peeked at it and it was all golden brown on the top. Looks really good. I did take a little toothpick and check it to make sure that it wasn't still doughy further down. But our layer isn't really thick on this. We don't have a super thick topping as it is. So I wasn't as concerned with it being doughy on the top. The other thing is most of what we have in here, pretty much everything was already cooked except for the top. Our vegetables did need to be heated, which this definitely was sufficient to get it heated to the right temperature. And then our chicken was already cooked and we had canned soup. So everything was already cooked. We didn't have to really worry about that. So that is done. It looks good. We can't wait to try it later. We are gonna finish up our fruit salad. So I went ahead and I tossed in our blackberries in with the rest of our grapes and our strawberries. I did 2, I think they are half pints or 1 pint of the blackberries. So I just did 2 of those containers and I did a whole pound of the strawberries and probably, trying to think of how much grapes, about 20 to 30-ish grapes. So what we have left is we've got some kiwi here, and I love kiwi just for a little bit of a different flavor and texture in our fruit salad here. So I'm actually gonna just peel this. You can eat the outside of a kiwi. People always look at me funny when I say that, but it has a lot of fiber, and once you rinse it, it doesn't, to me, taste really hairy. So when I eat it, I actually just slice it and eat it with the skin on. If you're weird about textures, you probably won't like it, but something to try. You never know till you try it. It's kind of funky in a fruit salad, so I typically go ahead and cut it. And when I'm making a big batch like this, if I'm gonna be sharing it with others, I just think about what will help them to eat it. What would they probably want in their fruit salad? So if I'm making all this, I want everybody to eat it, right? So just keep that stuff in mind. There are also something called golden kiwis. So another tip for you when you are shopping, if you find a food that you really like, for instance, kiwi, and they have a different variety, or if you're just looking for a new food to try in general, try something similar. So they have golden kiwis that are yellow, and they're a little bit more of a cross between. To me, they're sweeter. They're like a pineapple mixed with a kiwi, and they are just so good. They only have them a few times a year. They don't always have them at the grocery store. I typically get mine at Food Lion, but you might be able to find them anywhere that you shop. But they are a really good option. Another thing that you can do, especially if you have kids, is to have them pick something new that they want to try. So by including them, I know not everybody wants to shop with their children, but ask them even before you go to the grocery store, what is a new food that you want to try this week? And that will encourage them to eat more fruits or vegetables. So have them pick a new one of those. But also it kind of empowers them a little bit to make some choices for themselves. And you guys see that I'm cutting this a couple different ways. It's just whatever works best for you, but there's several ways you could chop this up. Our goal is just to get it cut into those tinier pieces. So our last thing is our watermelon. And I'm gonna use my big knife, my chef's knife for this. So I'm using, I think this is 1/4 of a watermelon. What I like to do is go in and cut it long ways. And then I go back through, rotate it, and cut it the opposite way. And then I just kind of scoop it out with my knife, being very careful. Remember, we want to make sure our knife is nice and sharp. That will help us to do this more easily. And a lot of times I just flip it on over and kind of pull it so that it comes right out. I'm not a professional at cutting watermelon, but this works well for me, so you do what's best. If you got a cool trick at home, share it with me, let me know. You could also use a spoon to do this part. This is what I've got on hand here. And you can save that or compost it. I'm actually gonna set it to the side. I have a friend who has a horse and she will feed that to her horse. And I'm just gonna chop these into smaller pieces. So some of it's already chopped up from us chopping it throughout, but this way we are kind of chopping it into those smaller bite-sized pieces. And I don't know if I'm gonna use this whole thing, but if you are ever chopping up fruit, it's good to just go ahead and chop what you have and then put it in a container, save it for later. And that way you have something to snack on, and it'll kind of encourage you to snack a little bit more frequently. So our last couple ingredients, we have mandarin oranges, and I'm gonna drain these really quick. I do use some of the juice sometimes, so I'll leave about 1/4 to 1/2 of that juice, just because I feel like it gives it good flavor. And then our limes. So if you did want to add bananas, the limes would help to preserve those and keep them from turning brown, but that would only be if you want to eat this within a day. This will actually stay in your fridge for 7 days if your fridge is 41 degrees or less, but your quality might start to go down. So your blackberries might get kind of mushy, so just keep that in mind. Probably, I would say 3 to 5 days would be best with this. And if your fridge is above 41, then you would need 3 to 5 days. And then I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon and stir it all together. And that is done. So hopefully this helped you guys to shop smart when you're in the grocery store, how to pick things that will be good for your family. And we can't wait to see you guys back next time to talk about saving.